And this is purely political. It says everything you need to know about the United States of America under Donald Trump.
A few moments later.
But is it true that this investigation started during the Biden administration?
I don't know the details.
So it looks like Gavin Newsom's presidential campaign is already off to some early problems, because on one hand, you have this federal corruption probe currently being investigated by the DOJ. And then on the other hand, we have his crazy, psycho, annoying wife who won't shut her mouth and just keeps destroying Newsom every time she goes on TV, but she insists on doing it because she has the Jill Biden syndrome, right, and wants the spotlight. And you converge those two together. This weekend, they asked the crazy psycho wife about the federal DOJ probe. Like, this is where roads cross and intersect each other, and it has just blown up into a massive political disaster. We'll talk about it. We'll tell you about each side of what's going on here. But folks, what I do have to say is that given especially everything happening right now within Democrat primaries, specifically the way in which their crazy voter base is sort of rejecting the establishment darling favorites of the party, I think that we should not write Gavin at this moment to be basically a shoo-in for 2028 anymore. In fact, I could very much see him being the Jeb Bush style figure who goes in with institutional support thinking it's going to be very easy and gets totally rejected by voters. And I think some of those cracks are frankly beginning to show. But nonetheless, let's talk about it, guys. What's going on with Gavin? First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That's the best way to support our work, and it ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, let's start by reporting on the details of this DOJ probe. What exactly is going on? Well, the Newsom campaign is alleging this to just be a political hit job by the Trump administration. It's lawfare, to which I say I don't think you're in much room to criticize over that. But secondly, I also point out that's simply not true. Take a listen.
From California just about an hour ago now. No comment to Fox from the DOJ as of this hour. A source there saying that there are several investigations into people around Newsom, including his wife and his former chief of staff, and they originate from whistleblowers. Fox News asking for clarity out of Newsom's office around what he means when he says the DOJ is demanding records. That has not been defined. We'll update you as soon as we get more word on that.
Yeah, so for obvious reasons thus far, the DOJ is yet to release full details on the investigation because it is ongoing, especially into Newsom. But from what we know thus far, I'm just going to say, if you're at all familiar with California politics and the way in which corruption seems to work there, this shouldn't be all that surprising. In fact, maybe it's an optimistic sign that, hey, all that naked kind of embezzlement, especially of funds that has been going on for years to decades now, oh, the feds kind of did something about it. That is a welcome sign. But here's what we know. So apparently a Democrat insider and Newsom appointee by the name of Alexis Podesta secretly wore an FBI wire back, when this was all going on as kind of the whistleblower here, right? To record conversations during a federal corruption probe into Gavin Newsom's then chief of staff, Dana Williamson. Now, Williamson just pleaded guilty recently in May of 2026. Again, Gavin Newsom's then former chief of staff of Newsom. So someone pretty close here, right? You see where this is going. You see why Newsom's also under investigation. Guess what he did? Conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud, false tax returns, and lying to the FBI for diverting roughly $225,000 from a dormant Xavier Becerra campaign account through sham payments. In other words, embezzlement of the money, embezzlement of the funds. Again, understanding how California works, is it exactly surprising that, hey, either public funds or campaign funds, right? They're just extremely corrupt politicians in general. Oh, they're ending up to themselves. They're being kind of wired around to ultimately their own pockets. Yeah, gee, no wonder why, first of all, there's a political machine that keeps electing these corrupt California Democrats. But then secondly, you also look at the way they handle public funds. Yeah, of course, we know that's what's going on with the California high-speed rail, right? It's a big corruption system. They'll give out the contracts basically to their friends or these shell companies who claim they're going to build it. They don't build anything. They basically run away with millions of dollars. Very likely that also results in kickbacks. Hey, we'll donate some to you. We'll donate some to your campaign. And this is how the whole circle of corruption works. So that's why I said, just hearing the basic preliminary details of what we know. And I repeat, Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff pleading guilty to something along the lines already of what we often describe as the way the machine works in California. Hey, it could be a sign of something, right? Not going to promise that this is going to bring down the whole Newsom dynasty, but it is optimistic. Hey, you know, someone in California went to jail for the corruption. That's certainly good to hear. Here's the thing, though. Of course, the Newsom family is responding by claiming that this is just DOJ retaliation. Trump is after me. It's lawfare, blah, blah, blah. Here's an inconvenient detail, however. This whole investigation, guess what, folks? Started in 2024 under the Biden administration, right? So literally, Trump did not start this investigation. He's not the one doing this. This was, they first started to notice, oh, California was corrupt under Biden. Isn't that very interesting? Well, folks, speaking of the Newsoms, we now shift to Jennifer Newsom, the woman who really needs to shut her mouth if she wants Newsom to be president, but is such a narcissist. She's incapable of doing so. But just over on MSNOW this week, much like Newsom, tried to parrot the same exact line that they've been doing. This is just political lawfare, except MSNOW for once actually follows up with something correct, which is that, wait a minute, that's not true. How could it be a Trump hit job if it was started by Biden?
But is it true that this investigation started during the Biden administration?
I don't know the details. I do know that, Trump was coming after my husband back when Biden was president and Biden was running for the presidency, and I thought it was ironic. So, look, this is a fishing expedition, and I think what you're saying is that it's just been going on for a long time. My husband is Trump's most outspoken critic, and he's the GOP's biggest, I don't know, they've always targeted my husband.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm sure you'd agree with me that she's absolutely terrible at this, and I have no idea why they allow her to go on television or open her mouth or speak on behalf of Newsom. Terrible political calculus being made there. But secondly, notice the shift in tone. Because as you probably saw for weeks now, Newsom and his wife have been going around strongly and vehemently saying, political lawfare, Trump is targeting us. And then they're simply asked, wait a minute, didn't the investigation start under Biden? MSNOW is even just asking, is that true? And they just say, oh, well, I don't know all the details. I can't share those details. If you don't know the details, how do you know that it's Trump lawfare? And then she even goes back to it. I mean, look, it might not be actually true that it's Trump lawfare, but we know that Trump and Newsom don't like each other, right? So clearly that's proof of this. Ha ha ha. Yeah, just a terrible answer. And by the way, a complete implosion. I mean, I don't think we really have to go into details and explain. You could see for yourself, she didn't know what to say, okay? And just gave this complete word salad, politician-y answer, but not a very good one. As I said, she's not very good at this. No idea why they allow her to speak. She's single-handedly helping to destroy Newsom's campaign. In fact, I think we ought to do that poll question. What do you think is going to be more damaging for Gavin Newsom? This federal corruption probe that has already resulted in criminal charges around people around him, and let's only hope, it results in charges towards Newsom himself as well. Is that going to be more damaging? Or is Jennifer Newsom significantly more damaging? Jezebel Newsom, as we'll call her. I think we know the answer. I think that is actually extremely obvious, right? But nonetheless, it goes on throughout this interview. Again, as bad as the DOJ thing is, I think we found the real Achilles heel for the Newsom campaign, and it's his freaking wife. Dear gosh, stop talking.
Is he aspiring for the presidency?
I believe right now we are focused on California. We built a foundation. I've been focused on women and children and communities. I'm really proud of the work we're doing to close the women's wealth gap, the women's wage gap, to get women on public company boards. Diversity is our secret sauce. It's what my husband and I stand for and represent and champion. And so I guess in that regard, we're a threat to the GOP. But right now we're focused on California, and we're focused on saving our democracy because clearly we have an unhinged leader who is coming at his political enemies and trying to intimidate us all. So
diversity is our secret sauce. Ha 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 ha. No wonder people are leaving the state in such droves. But notice how she just manages to not stop talking, but ultimately doesn't say anything, and just is clearly this like off-putting, weird kind of attention-seeking human being, kind of similar to Glenn Walls, right? You sort of just listen to her, you understand she's a little psycho, something's a little bit weird about this. And by the way, that's absolutely true when we research and look into exactly the lunatic that Jennifer Newsom is. But here is the thing, and here's why I say especially his wife is so damaging to him, is because let's also understand what, kind of being third person about this, right? Biases aside, what is the political appeal of Gavin Newsom, right? Why do some Democrats want Newsom? It's because, according to them, he comes off as sort of this like actual normal, almost to them, they think he's a cool guy, right? In contrast to a Democrat party that is full of absolute freaks and weirdos, and they can't find a single normal person to represent them as a candidate basically ever, they're hoping, oh, Gavin will appeal to male voters because he's not like a crazy dysgenic freak, and he seems kind of cool, and he has like this Patrick Bateman haircut and all those things. But then, of course, all of that, even though that's completely fake, all of that political appeal, I would argue, completely evaporates when you realize that Jennifer Newsom is just the wokeosaurus, like just totally crazy, insane feminist chick, the archetype, the final boss of that, arguably. You know what I mean?
I've given our boys dolls, even if they tear the head off. I've given them dolls to learn that care and caregiving is not just an activity that's reserved for women, but that it's also an activity that is a responsibility of men. What I've done with both my daughters and my sons is if I'm reading a book and the protagonist is a male, I just change the he to a she. And it just normalizes for my sons in particular. I don't even just do it for my girls. I do it for my sons because I want them to see that women can be the center of a story, that women matter, that women are interesting. At the end of the day, we're all kind of like in this place in history maybe where we're recognizing what it is to ultimately deconstruct all these gender roles and ultimately be human. And that's exciting to me. So, I'll just continue to kind of do my work and try and deconstruct all of these like limiting narratives about ultimately what it means to be human.
Yeah, no wonder Gavin Newsom's son is supposedly a Charlie Kirk fan, right? That poor kid. He's going to grow up one day to be a great patriot. I believe in him. One day, him and Barron Trump are going to team up, cross the Potomac to stop the communists. Like that, this is going to happen. This is an inevitable timeline. And what was his motivating like superhero origin story or whatever? It was his psycho woke mom trying to turn him transgender. Okay. And for Barron, it was them trying to kill his dad and throw him in jail. And it's like the ultimate forces converge. It's like the tag team they can't stop. This is true. This is true. But, anyways, that all aside, you see exactly what I'm bringing up here, right? She's literally trying to trans her freaking kids. Her poor sons are just like, oh my, no, I don't want to be trans, okay? But this is who she's completely insane. She is psycho, as I said, right? And you have to wonder, what on earth are they thinking putting her out there to speak? Like they have to understand this is actually politically damaging, right? Like she's an insane person, clearly, You know, not the type of person that appeals to anyone or you want to have power. I'd argue, honestly, she's even more insane than Glenn Walls, but also has zero self-awareness and basically, like Jill Biden, has that main character syndrome. She thinks she's important. She thinks she has ideas that are worth speaking, and she wants the spotlight. And that is the thing. If we're being honest, do you think it is Gavin Newsom's idea to send his wife out like this to do the media tour? Okay, he probably knows. I think Gavin Newsom's team, Democrats know, but no one can stop her. Why? Because I mean, what are you going to say? You know, we know who wears the pants in this relationship clearly, right? It's not Gavin. So what is he going to do? Is he going to tell, hey, Jennifer, hey, shut up. Like, stop talking. Stop doing media tours. You're making us look bad. No, don't be sexist, right? Don't be a bigot. You got to allow Jennifer to go tank your campaign. This is kind of, honestly, this is a great metaphor for everything happening to Newsom and what you might call supposedly moderate or whatever type of people at their core in the Democrat Party. Is they're being consumed or like torn down, and they can't do anything about basically like the woke freaks that are taking them over, right? Like for example, we always bring this up. You look at Gavin. Do you think Gavin deep down is a woke person? I don't think so. I think he's a crazy sociopath who wants power. But by the way, I kind of thought the same about Biden, right? Do you think like that old man is actually a woke human at his core? No, but he basically just let these freaks walk all over him because what is he going to do? Actually, what's going on right now with Gavin and his own wife, when you think about it, is the perfect metaphor for all of that, right? Like Gavin has to let his crazy, insane wife who's trying to trans their kids, he has no power to even stop his own wife from going out and disgracing him like this, right? What a scene to watch. But anyways, point being, you look at Gavin right now, and again, major flaws, major weaknesses he's facing in the campaign, but the amount of his own political appeal, I would argue, that's evaporating simply because his crazy wife won't shut up, is enormous, right? He's tried so much, especially ever since Trump won the election and all that, to distance himself from maybe coming off as necessarily the woke, insane kind of social stuff, right? Even though as California governor, he totally governs that way. As I said, who really controls him, right? But try to make this image, right? Again, that's his whole point, is he's the normal white guy. He's not like a crazy blue-haired hippie or something. And then you have his wife. You have his wife single-handedly tanking that whole thing, you know, talking about transing her sons. So there you have it, right? That's why, as usual, the Democrats can never get out of their own way, and especially the woke freaks standing in the way of Democrats like being a remotely normal political party. They'll never stop, right? And they can't stop them. You can't tell them to shut up. That's racist, right? So there you go. That's how it goes. So again, let me know in the comments, what do you think is more damaging? Corruption scandals that might end up with him in jail, or just Jennifer Newsom? I vote Jennifer Newsom 100% all the day, right? Every freaking politician has some type of corruption scandal. No one cares, if we're being honest, besides us, right? But, you know, also it plays into his little like Patrick Bateman, Wolf of Wall Street persona, arguably. But Jennifer Newsom, there, like that's his kryptonite. Really, is his wife. I'm telling you right now, that's his kryptonite, is his wife. And his wife that won't stop talking, won't stop doing media hits because she wants to be the main character. There you go. That's what happens. That's what happens. Cautionary tale to men out there, you know? Don't let your wife get main character syndrome and then just like destroy your entire life's work because she wants to be a celebrity. That's literally what's going on right now, you know? It's insane. Anyways, that said, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.